Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of October 10th through the 16th of 2022. Alright, so this week we're coming off of the full moon from yesterday, full moon in Pisces, the constellation of being more receptive and more in tune with our soul. So it's an excellent week for still making some of these shifts and changes the early part of the week, incorporating more of that receptive energy, more of that soul-guided energy into our life, and really for the whole week, because we will be in the disseminating phase or the implementation phase of the lunar cycle towards the later part, which is great for implementing that full moon's energy. Now, the most important aspect we have is very Piscean in nature as well. It is Mars, the planet of our drives, in a square or a clash with Neptune, the receptive planet that rules Pisces. And so there can be some of this clash collectively where maybe the fire is being drowned out by the water, maybe lower energy, maybe uncertainty about things. And so anything that is constructively working with this is fantastic. Really good ways of doing this is aligning that fire, aligning that ego with the spiritual, right? With the more soul-guided things in our life, working towards that, working towards having more peace into our life, more spirituality, more soul guidance. It's an excellent way of working with that aspect. But outside of that, we have some trines with Saturn. The sun will be trining more constructive and responsible Saturn around Tuesday, leading up to that Mars square Neptune. Then around Friday, Venus, the planet of values and relationships, will be trining that constructive Saturn. And so some nice support with that. And some other aspects as well, but these are certainly the most important ones. So let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, October 10th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. A great example is I did just say that the full moon is in Pisces. That was yesterday, but you may have been expecting it to be in Aries. So if you are new to this channel, definitely check out that link down below for more information using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so a bit of a recap. Everything is quite straightforward coming into this week. A lot of the same energies. We still have a lot of concentration of energy in Virgo, the constellation that has to do with improvement and refinement. And so it's, of course, still great to be focused on this. How can we improve ourselves, our life? Great for personal development, routines, our work and service as well. Anything that is about getting into that detailed energy. We're focusing on these things. We're enjoying it, or can be enjoying it, or connecting in our one-on-one relationships in this way with Venus here. And also our minds are here as well, which Mercury does like to be here, exalted, liking to work with improvement, refinement, and striving towards some of that healthy perfection there. Now Mars is in grounded Taurus, where Mars is about to go retrograde at the end of this month, around October 30th, 31st, around there, 30th. And so he's slowing down. And this is in the already slowing down constellation of Taurus the Bull, which is about taking things one step at a time. So good to do that. Take things slowly and steadily when it comes to where we're putting our action, our drives, or our goals in life. One step at a time, one foot before the other. And stopping to smell the roses, connecting to the natural world, connecting to our senses, the enjoyments of life. This can be a good way of sort of quote-unquote slowing down with Mars gearing up for his retrograde there in Taurus. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the aspects for this week, starting first with Monday. The most important thing about Monday is that we're still very much in that full moon energy from yesterday. And that's where we had and are still having that full moon in Pisces, which is all about incorporating more of that receptivity in our lives. Pisces is the last constellation of the Zodiac. It's about coming full circle back around to peace, to stillness, to spiritual well-being, to what's important to us on a soul level. And this is, of course, in opposition to all of that Virgo energy, right? This is the counterbalance to Virgo. So while it is a time of focusing on what we can control, improve, refine, Pisces reminds us to also check in with our soul, to let go of what's outside of our control, and to make sure that whatever it is we're doing on a daily basis is important to us on that soul level. So still good for that status check, still great for implementing any of that more receptive, spiritual, soul-guided rest, even though it is the heightened energy, the lunar month, more of that going with the flow kind of energy of Pisces. Okay, so along with that, we do have something minor, but I'll mention it. Venus, the planet of those values and relationships, will be opposite up to healing Chiron. And this was a very much a healing full moon already, with it conjunct Chiron. Chiron's the healing comet, and so it's very much about doing healing. So any awareness around that, there could be some continuation of that, of course, from the full moon, but also maybe specifically with those values and relationships, as Venus will oppose Chiron exactly here around Monday. Okay. Now, as we start to get into Tuesday, we're really starting to get into the bulk of the aspects that we have this week. The most important one is that fiery Mars squaring Neptune, fiery Mars squaring watery Neptune I was talking about. But let's talk about some of these other ones, and then we'll go into that one. So one here is that the sun is going to be trining Saturn as we go into Tuesday, and so this can be quite constructive. In fact, the moon will be shifting into Aries here Tuesday and the first part of Wednesday for most of us. And so even though it is still about implementing that watery Pisces, that spiritual receptive energy, it still could very well be a great couple days, Tuesday, Wednesday, for taking initiative with things. Okay, so a bit of that proactivity, a bit of that fire, right, with Aries. And again, this is just more confirmation that it's important to balance that fire with the water, the action with the no action, the intention with the receptivity, going with the flow, right? And so it's certainly there and available. But the sun trining Saturn is about seeing long-term views. It's very supportive for this. So anything that does require patience, perseverance, discipline could actually be very constructive, both the Tuesday and Wednesday time period with that trine to Saturn. Again, we'll also have that trine with Saturn around Thursday and Friday, and that's going to be with Venus trining Saturn. Okay, we'll talk a little more about. So Saturn is certainly in a good harmony here this week, and so great for those long-term views. Now Mercury will be opposite Jupiter. This is something we've already been having since Mercury's been retrograde, but this is the last contact, and it certainly is, I think, a very constructive one, because you have the planet Mercury of our practical minds in opposition to Jupiter, our more abstract minds. And so it's been a very good past month pretty much to have this kind of implementation of both. How can we integrate the left brain and the right brain, the practical mind and the abstract mind? And so anything that is on this level, which is about, from the practical mind's perspective, expanding our horizons a little bit, thinking big picture, maybe studying some higher things or spiritual things, more abstract stuff, right? And then vice versa, grounding that abstract stuff, grounding that philosophy, implementing it, right? So anything that is about this sort of learning, mental, perspective, energy could be a great way of working with it when it is about striving towards that balance between the practical and the abstract. All right, but let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the Mars squaring Neptune. Now, this is only the beginning with it because, as I said, Mars is going retrograde this year, which is going to drag out all of these aspects that Mars is involved with during right now in his shadow as he is gearing up for that retrograde. So this is the first of three. We're going to have the second one November 19th and the final one March 14th of next year. Okay, Mars is a relatively slow-moving planet compared to the other fast movers, and so when he goes retrograde, it really drags out, as you can see, for many months. Okay, but the energy here, again, will likely already start to feel it coming into the week. You may have already been feeling it towards the previous weekend. But it's where that fire is in that clash with the water, okay, collectively speaking, as the natural default. Now, that's the natural default, so, when there's no intention or awareness of it, it can be lower energy, apathy, uncertainty, right? That fire of Mars, or sort of egos or drives or needs, are in the ethers or in the middle of the ocean, right? And we can feel a bit lost or uncertain. Or if we're putting our energy towards something, we can really work and tire ourselves out and not really get anywhere, okay? So this is really a reminder to collectively, sometimes inaction is the best action, right? It's very important to check in with our soul, right? To float, to sort of put energy towards the stream of life or the current of life versus swimming against it, right? And sometimes floating gets us further than swimming in a direction, especially if that direction is upstream or not towards the direction we really want to be going. So this is a very much a status check time to reconnect with our soul, to make sure where we are putting our action and our energy is what we really want on a soul level, is also, providing that spiritual fulfillment and in the now moment, right, where it is, peaceful or it's spiritually fulfilling or it's enriching us or it's soul guided in the now moment, right? And so these kinds of energies. So with anything that, of course, involves aligning that fire, our drives to these more soul important things is fantastic with this aspect. So it's great for spiritual activities, any spiritual activities that specifically do deal with fire, like action or athletics or, assertion and initiative, but again, in the spiritual way, like Tai Chi or yoga or things like this. Of course, it could also be very creative as well, as we have that imaginative energy with Neptune, right? Great for psychology, getting to the depth of things, understanding more about ourselves. Again, it's still very much a healing week from that last full moon, right? So anything that aligns that ego with the spiritual self, integrates the two, consciously, constructively, is a fantastic way of working with it. And a lot of the stuff we do set out to do on this level this week will likely harvest and culminate when the last aspect happens early next year, about mid-March. Okay, so great week for all of this. This is certainly the most strongest aspect for this week. Okay, but again, the early part of Wednesday here, while that's still going on, will be that moon in Aries. And then the later part of Tuesday, all of Tuesday, the moon will be in Aries. The later part of Wednesday, the moon will be shifting into Taurus, the bull. And so late Wednesday all the way through late Saturday, we're going to have the bulk of the week here with the moon in Taurus, which is all about, again, taking things slowly and steadily. And so great middle part of the week here for, again, stopping to smell the roses, maybe connecting to nature, the natural world, maybe having a good meal. The moon is exalted here, likes to be here, right? And so having gratitude and enjoyment of the natural world. Maybe there's some themes about developing our self-reliance, our resourcefulness, that inner groundedness, right? Could be a great way of working with this middle part of the week. All right, and then the last aspect of the week is that late Thursday and Friday time, while the moon is here in Taurus, which is Venus, the planet of those values and relationships, in that trine with grounded Saturn, right? And so anything that is again long-term, that does deal with our enjoyments, things we want to attract in our lives, our values, maybe resources, and quite possibly relationships. That is, we are seeing the long road with, or maybe working towards long-term with. Great. It's a great grounding sort of energy here with that. By this time, we're also going to be waning, coming off of some of that watery energy from that full moon, and also the Mars square Neptune will be getting less and less as we go through the later part of the week. All right. So something to keep in mind there with that as well. And then the week does end where late Saturday and all of Sunday, the moon's in Gemini. Okay, so Gemini is that Mercury energy. It's great to learn, be inquisitive, practical, left brain stuff, learning, inquisition, curiosity, interest, all of that. Great for that very late part of the week. All right, everyone, so that's the week in a nutshell. Most important thing is implementing that full moon energy. We're still in that full moon coming into the week on Monday. So it's usually a time of shifts and changes and now incorporation. And in this case, incorporating some of that receptive energy of Pisces to balance out a lot of that improvement energy of Virgo at the moment. We do have support with Saturn this week for long-term views. But the most important aspect is, again, that fiery Mars in that square with watery Neptune. And so combining that fire and water is a fantastic way of working with this week, and really for the next many months if there are any new intentions you want to set around those types of things. All right, everyone, so have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these YouTube videos released first, so do check that out if you haven't yet. But have a great one, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.